teach down here at Sage Studio. I actually teach restorative and yin. We never get off of the mat. We never come to standing in our yin class. It is seated stretching. So we're in poses to where you feel the stretch, and then we're holding those poses for 3 to 4 minutes a piece, and then we move on to the next side. So that gives us time for the muscles to start to get used to the pose. It starts to let the fascia release. The difference between yin yoga and restorative yoga, my restorative class, people call it adult nappy time because we're staying in the poses for 10 to 12 minutes. Almost all of those poses are going to be laying down in some way, shape, or form. And that we're not moving quickly at all. Everything is about deep breaths, rolling over, taking your time. But the great thing about restorative yoga is you almost don't even feel the stretch most of the time. And since we're in those poses for 10 to 12 minutes, your body has the chance to settle in and release. So what we've done today is I have a list of poses from each of those classes that Dwayne's gonna model for us. And so what we'll do is we'll have Dwayne get into the pose. We'll kind of walk through it a little bit. So our seated side stretch, you're just sitting in whatever cross-legged position works for you. If legs don't cross, you can just be seated. That's totally fine. So we'll take the right arm or hand down to the ground. Left arm is gonna come up and over as you stretch. If you have the capacity, you can come down onto the forearm if you'd like. And so you're just stretching that left arm up and over, and you're trying to pull down with the left side. So you're really trying to root that left hip and that left knee. This is gonna get you a nice deep stretch in the left side body. Then as you can see, it'll be done to wherever it is that you're at. So then you'd come up, and then you'd go out the other side. So taking that left hand to the floor first, and you're gonna take the right arm up and over. So from our table position, if you move, once you get the hands set, if you want to move them forward a little bit, starting to bring the chest down to the floor into our puppy pose. So the hips stay up.
Hands go up.
Yep, bringing the chest down. So the hips stay up here. You're working on the back, kind of stretching the spine. The closer you bring the chest down to the floor, the more of a back bend you get, which is also going to help stretch the spine. And again, these poses are really good because you move at your own pace. You're very much doing what you can do, moving at that pace. So coming back to seated, Dwayne. I know, just flipping you all the way around. Like I said, normally you're in these poses for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, so we're not just flopping all around.
And the good thing about that is, like right now, I get there, I'm real tense, but after a minute or 2 or 3 minutes, you begin to feel and relax. And that's when the stretching helps.
Yes, that's when all of the goodness happens. When you're in the pose long enough to start to get that benefit, that is when you really, really start to get the goodness from these poses. So we'll go ahead and take our butterfly position, which is going to bring your feet together in front of you. And this again is wherever you're at. So if the feet are close to the body, that's fine. If the feet are further away, that's also fine. So this is butterfly in yin, and this is a pose. So you're gonna feel the stretch on the inside of the thighs. You can change that stretch by moving the feet closer to the body or pushing them further away. You can also change the stretch by keeping the back straight, pushing forward with the shoulders as you lean forward. So you're keeping the chest open, or you can round the spine as you fold. So there are multiple ways that you can do this stretch so that it's accessible, and it is a nice stretch. How about banana pose? You want to come down to the back? You want it to be the guinea pig. You're all excited about this. So you guys have probably seen banana pose. It's been around for a while. So we're going to take the legs out long, and then we'll take them over to the left side. Just as far over as you can get them is fine. We'll take the arms straight up overhead. And then since we're gonna take everything out to the left, you can grab the right wrist with the left hand, if that works for you, to kind of deepen that stretch on the right side body. So this is banana pose, and that's gonna be a nice deep stretch in that right side body there. And then so you would stay here 2 to 3 minutes, and then you could move to the other side. So you move everything back. So you move the head, the shoulders, and the arms back, then the legs back. You move to the other side.
In my case, since my left side was affected, that's really puts a nice stretch right in here.
And one thing that you'll notice, even like without the stroke symptoms, the sides of the body are very different. You'll definitely notice more when you have one side that's affected by the stroke, that you'll feel the stretch in one side much more than the other side. You don't have to go as deep into the stretch on that side. You can take it easy. And that's what's good about these yin poses is, again, it's wherever you're at is totally fine. You're just giving your body a chance to do those stretches. And then our twist while we're laying down. So fetal position.
I need to set first.
That's fine. So we can start in our fetal position on the left side. We'll take the right arm up and over, trying to flatten out the shoulders on the mat. So this is gonna help stretch the right side, stretching across the IT band. You can use a blanket or a bolster, kind of as a weight on the legs to help them stay together. And then we just stay here, like I said, for 3, 4, 5 minutes, giving the body a chance to relax. So, and then you would just go ahead and roll to the other side. Because you do want to try to get both sides. Even if one side doesn't feel lovely, you probably still need the stretch. So as you can see, the sides are very different. You could always put something in between the knees if the knees don't want to go together. It's totally fine. You can use a blanket, a bolster, a pillow in between the knees just so that they're kind of supported. This is where the weight helps.
On this side.
Do you stay first? And then so having the weight in that hand allows him to stretch that arm out and then hold
It
it
does
out
hurt
there.
for a second, but then it really starts feeling good. Okay.
Okay. So those are just some quick examples of our yin poses. Again, those are the ones that we're gonna hold for 3 to 5 minutes, just letting the body stretch, and you're gonna feel the stretches more in those poses. Yin is designed to feel the stretch, stay in the stretch, and let the body settle in.
That right there, we went through those in less than 10 minutes, but if we were actually in class, it'd been about 30, 45 minutes or
Yes.
something like that.
How long does it take you to do a class?
So my normal yin class is an hour. Yeah, so we just do very short breath work at the beginning, and then we start going directly into poses. And then, like I said, taking 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the pose per side or per pose. An hour passes pretty quickly. So, yeah. So the restorative class is an hour and 15 minutes. Like I said, we stay in those poses for 10 to 12 minutes. And like I said, it's like adult nappy time. You're not supposed to feel the stretch as much in restorative because the purpose is to support the body and build it up so that you can relax into the pose, so you're not gonna feel the stretch as much.
What were you doing here versus restorative?
That was yin. I'm gonna show you restorative next.
Restorative next. Yin is mostly, at least the benefit I get is stretching.
But yeah, the restorative is more relaxing, and you do get the stretch, but you don't feel it as much because you're too busy relaxing, if that makes sense.
In other words, this arm I can stretch, but this one here, that's about the best I can get unless I put a little weight on it. And then again, but it's hard to keep it there. But in this, we'll get it there, put the weight on it, and then I'll be there for 10 minutes. At that 10 minutes, it's not as good as this, but it's really stretched out. And it feels good. Yeah.
So we'll start, so this is one of the restorative poses that we did in class the other day. So this is just a simple, we're gonna have you put the legs up the bolster first. So we like to use our little ramp in restorative. And the first pose that we're gonna show you is legs up the bolster. So anytime you can get the feet above the heart, it's just kind of an automatic relaxing pose. So this is kind of the restorative version of waterfall pose in regular yoga. So you can, I'm much better at this in class. Like, so just getting the feet above the heart, allowing the body to relax, and then just kind of settling in. And in this pose, like I said, we would stay here for 10 minutes. So as you can see, it's a pretty relaxing pose. You're just chilled out, hanging out.
Sometimes I'll put this hand up here, which really helps with the muscles in the shoulder. Okay, good.
And like I said, this is a variation of waterfall in yoga. So anybody that's familiar with yoga, you may have heard of waterfall. You can do waterfall up against the wall, just taking your hips against the wall, legs go straight up the wall. It gets your feet up higher. But for a lot of people, that hurts the legs because the legs don't want to straighten as you get them up the wall. So you can do this pose. You can also do a variation of waterfall, like with a chair, where you would just sit. See if I can show you this without rolling away from me. Where you would just sit on the floor, you would take the calves up into the chair, and then you would lay back. So this is another variation. Just gets the legs up higher, if that's what you'd like. Couple variations. So we did a variation of the butterfly pose for the yin that I showed you. We're gonna go ahead and try that now with restorative. So go ahead and bring the hips to the bottom of the bolster
This
here.
way?
Yep. And then bring the feet together in front of you. So when we do this in class, we usually have a rolled blanket under the neck. We have something under the arm so that when we put the weight on the arm, it's not dragging it down. It's supported underneath, so he's got the weight to help stretch the arm. But again, he's also got that support, so we're not putting some extra pressure on the elbow. So this pose is good because it's going to allow the hips to open. So very, very gently, we're using gravity, letting the knees fall out to the side. And then it's just like a nice gradual hip opener. So let's show the twist now.
From here?
Do you talk through your class?
So my yin class, I talk much more, talking about getting in. So restorative, I talk to get into the pose, then I talk about breath work to let go. And then usually for the last 8-9 minutes, I'm quiet. I have nice calming music going. I feel like you guys can relax much better without me doing this. So
That's what I kind of wondered.
yeah, so I'm talking through it a
If we
lot.
have to keep up with your knowledge.
No, it is all about relaxing. So I really do try to be quiet. People that know me are very surprised I can be quiet for an hour. It's shocking, I know. But yeah, so I talk into the pose, like I said, try to get everybody relaxed and then, yeah. So this is our twist in this pose. So a lot of times we'll use the sandbag on top of the hand here as he stretches the arm out where he wants it. Then we put the sandbag, or he'll hold on to the handle of the sandbag and I can pull it out. Do you want to put this in? And so of course this one here, we're relaxing again, and it's just a nice gentle twist of the torso, relaxing onto the bolster. We would stay here for 10 to 12 minutes, and then once it's time to come out, we would just switch and relax onto the other side.
There are several people in the class that are athletic and healthy, but there are several people that have all kinds of issues. We have some that have weight issues, some have had knee surgeries, back surgeries, different things like that. I think I'm the only one that's had stroke, but it's helpful for all of them. And so it's not just for the athletic people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, stretching and the way that yin and restorative works, because it's so accessible at so many levels, anybody in the class can benefit from any of the poses, and we can make the poses work pretty much across the board. So that's why I find these so beneficial. You want to do it this way? Hold it. Okay. Smash your fingers. That's why I like these classes so well. I think that they're so beneficial to everybody that comes in. And it's amazing the people that come in for a restorative class that don't know that they need restorative in their lives.
I would say this, at first time you do anything with other people, you almost feel a little embarrassed, because It's not like we're just sitting in a chair.
Yeah,
If I asked you to get down here and you wanted to do it, you'd feel a little awkward at first. Well, it's the same way in class. But after a while, when you've been there and you begin to realize the benefits of it and stuff like that, as you can tell, most of the time we're laying down or sitting down, and so you're not worried about us anyway. But it really is helpful. Now you can imagine someone that didn't have a stroke, that has had good use of their body, they'll get these poses fast. It takes me a long time to get them. It takes me longer to get out of them than it does to get in them.
But that's also the benefit to these types of classes, is because there's time to get in them. Then there's time to be in the poses. Then there's time to get out. And it's not rushing to get from one pose to the next. So this one is a hip opener. We make sure that the knee and the ankle are supported. And in the restorative class, we would use the blanket under the chest or the neck to make sure that we're comfortable, we can breathe. And then, like I said, we would stay in this pose for 10 to 12 minutes. That gives the hip and low back a chance to realize what's going on, relax, settle in, and then starting to let that hip. So, but that's just a quick example of some yin poses and some restorative poses. So just in case you guys didn't know that yoga wasn't all super fast, sweaty, strong stuff.
You see that stuff on TV where they're doing all the different warrior poses, and that's good for the people that can do them, but I can't. But that doesn't mean I still need to be able to stretch and get exercise and stuff like that. So there's some that I don't even try because they're just too overwhelming for me.
yeah.
But most of them I can do, I just can't do them fast. But if they're too fast, I don't accomplish anything. I need it to be slow because my muscles just don't work fast anymore.
Let us do an old thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a normal yoga class, you would move from one pose with a breath into another pose with the breath. So moving that quickly, a lot of people don't feel like you have enough time to even get into the pose, let alone figure out where your arms and your legs and everything are before moving. And then Dwayne has said, from the perspective of someone that's had a stroke, that's even worse because you're trying to move everything and it takes even longer to get into the pose. So by the time you're there, everybody else is 2 poses on. So that's why standard yoga practices, I think you've said, are a little frustrating from that regard. But the slower ones you feel are a little more
I go
accessible.
to primarily yin and restorative.